Welcome to Calgary Culture, the Perspectives YYC podcast, a series of conversations with a series of local creators as we try to get serious about culture here in Calgary. Today we have a special conversation with the minds behind Like New Vintage and Secret Shop YYC. Nick, Tam, and Jimmy join me to spend a little time to explore who they are, where they came from, and how they're working together to stimulate and grow creative culture here in Calgary. Their series of fashion, music, and performance shows have been gaining traction here on the ground floor. They have vision, direction, and a great perspective on what's hip and cool, like their upcoming show with Velour Clothing Exchange and Pulse Dance Studios, aptly named Something from Nothing. If you're listening to this before August 30th, get online and get tickets as soon as possible, as it's small and it looks like it's going to be a killer fashion dance show. Shout out to my friend Kyle Marshall at Media Lab YYC for the studio space, production, and awesome positive vibes. If you're ever looking to chat with somebody who really loves podcasts, you need to sit down with Kyle. And to last episode's guest AYE, who has donated another track from his album Soul Food for this production. You can find all involved parties online through attached links. Check our description, Instagram, and website to find out more. And thank you for your time. Even listening is the start of the collaborative energy we need here in the city to keep this ball moving forward. Perspectives YYC is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. The APN is the brainchild of Karen Unland, whose only purpose in life is to support and grow local podcasts. Podcasts like I Don't Get It, a theater and show review series based out of Edmonton by two writers, Fonda Mithrush and Paul Blinov, produced by Andrew Paul. Their detailed insight and synergy together as co-hosts shines a great light into the Edmonton theater scene. And they've been doing this since November 2013. They really have been around, in a good way. They can be found at idon'tgetyeg.com and through the APN website, albertapodcastnetwork.com. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. We are in Media Lab's, not quite brand new anymore, laboratory. I haven't been here yet. I've been here socially to hang out with my friend Kyle, but I haven't actually recorded, so you guys are my inaugural recording session too. Yeah.
Shout out.
We're doing a group sesh. What are we going to call ourselves today? What are we feeling like? How do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
The dream team, baby. It's the dream team. Welcome.
That's what we usually refer to ourselves as, so that works.
Hashtag that. That might be taken. Yeah, Michael Jordan. So are we coming in? Is it easier to start with Secret Shop? Like New, how do you guys want to identify yourselves? And maybe you can introduce each of yourselves and your relationship with this interesting new movement that's happening. Don't all start at once.
Seriously. Yeah, my name's Tam, and I guess we've been kind of hanging out and building things together for about a year now. I think last May is kind of when we started meeting up and conceptualizing things. Like I met Nick through photography. We just wanted to take photos together, and we met each other through Instagram. But after a day of taking photos, I think we both expressed that we wanted to sell clothes, and we were like just getting into that. And we both liked clothes for a long time. So
I feel like the theme was we just like wanted to make money for ourselves. We just wanted to like be our own boss kind of thing. Talking about ways to just like make money on the side and like also like connect with people at the same time, like person to person.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we were connecting. That's at least for me. I wanted to like connect with people through selling clothes.
Yeah, we wanted to do something that we were good at. We could also make a little bit of money from, make a difference in the city, because we found there was like a lack of, I guess, like cohesive culture between everybody. There's a lot of things going on, but there's just not a lot that brings everybody together. And we found clothing is something that a lot of creatives really enjoy. So we started the event Secret Shop, which we can bring together all these artistic communities with clothes, and then also kind of show the city what artistic things the city kind of has to offer, with fashion being the vehicle.
I mean, before we jump in with Jimmy, just to kind of stress on that point, what is the status, I suppose, of fashion in your mind in Calgary? Personally, I mean, there's a lot of weird, one of the things I realized after I met you, Jimmy, at the library is I met you guys before when I came out with Vlad and Dallas. I don't know if they were even identifying as Magari at that point, but we were in Inglewood taking some pictures on dumpsters and I don't know if all three of you were there, but I have a picture of you. I looked at it.
Yeah. I remember that actually. Nick and I were there for that one. Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting thing. As you can tell, I don't need to worry about fashion because I'm pretty hip as I am.
Duh.
Yeah.
No, I have
You're
no
gangsta.
relationship with clothing other than that, as you mentioned at the beginning, I have to wear it by social conditioning and lack of fitness. But
And to stay warm, of course.
of course,
Let's not
it's
forget.
Calgary.
We're in Calgary,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. We got to stay warm.
But originally, I got into some of these relationships through Magari because they were trying to do something, I think, a little bit similar. Maybe not vintage so much. They were on a different sort of approach. But, I mean, they were related, like you said, about clothing and about fashion. You guys are interesting because is it all vintage, all retro? Is it all recycled? Or is that just part of a branding thing? And, I mean, talk to me about what is that like in Calgary? I mean, is there a big group of people who give a shit about this stuff?
Yeah, I would say it's very surprising, actually. A lot larger than even I'm sure we predicted originally. You know, we have hundreds of people coming to the events and like thousands engaging with them. There's obviously an audience here, and like with the emergence of, as we're speaking about the Tube, places a store called Round 2. Sean Witherspoon, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him.
Let's talk about YouTube.
Shout out to the Tube. But like anyone that follows the vintage scene knows about him. He's kind of like one of the pioneers, if you will, in this cool vintage t-shirt game. Like he's got a couple stores in the United States and they created a YouTube show around his stores. The show took off, and then obviously his brand took off after the show took off on YouTube. And they don't have an online store. They only have like brick and mortar locations. So they'll have like 5-6 hour lineups, people waiting outside just to get like the DMX tee from 2001 tour or like a yada yada yada. His brand has shifted because of their popularity into a very like similar to what Magari was doing with the high end brands, the Supremes, the Off-Whites, the what would be
Like
considered
streetwear.
Yeah, like the
And
commercialized streetwear of today. But it started originally with the vintage, right? And it kind of sprouted into that. So I think that the audience here is growing, and there's many like pools to pick from in terms of people that would be into the vintage scene. It would be like people that are into fashion, like really enjoy individuality, and they want those certain pieces that only they can have. But there's also people who are like on the environmental side and who are like, man, like I just want to buy some cool clothes for a decent price that's not having a footprint on the environment, right? Because you're just reusing. So there's that. There's people who want to be individual and cool. There's collectors, people who follow brands and follow like Polo Ralph Lauren from the beginning, and they recognize that the Polo Bear only comes on certain times and this and that.
we're kind of like a filter.
Yeah.
So we curate a collection of clothing that's filtered down already so that people can visit us and know that what they see is good stuff and they don't have to go and look for pieces themselves individually. We do the work for them. We sell secondhand stuff predominantly. Once in a while, we'll find something that's never been worn, but we'll still find it in like a secondhand setting. The vintage is something we want to focus on, but if there's something really cool that we like, we'll have that too.
Yeah, I feel like the vintage is kind of the foundation.
Okay, so maybe I'll ask two questions. One, Jimmy, how did you get involved? And then secondly, give me an idea of what you guys were looking at in the vintage scene before you met and what's drawing you to do what you're doing right now. So yeah, Jimmy, how did you...
Yeah, sure.
Nick was the connector.
So on that, Nick was definitely the connector between Tam, myself, and him. I guess how I got all into this, it wasn't originally through the vintage. I wasn't into the vintage as much. What I was into was fashion, and what I was into was styling and creativity and that individuality. I mean, a friend of mine had put me on to the Value Villages and the Salvation Armies and things like this because, like, you know, buying clothes is expensive, point blank period, especially nice ones. And the way that they have it branded these days, you know, you're paying $300 for a pair of Nikes. It's like, that's half the rent, you know? So you can't really be buying them that often. So my friend put me on to the thrift stores. And like prior to my meeting Nick, I really got into the thrifter, and I was there all the time because I was trying to get cool pieces, unique pieces, styling pieces, and then like obviously at an affordable, sustainable price. And then so Nick and I got together because I do styling outside of just the brand itself and kind of like creative direction for studio shoots and stuff like that. And so him and I were collaborating. He's a photographer and a videographer, so he makes, you know, the VHS films. And we got together, and then he said, "Hey man, I know this guy Tam, like we're thinking about throwing an event. Would you be interested?" And I was like, man, like the amount of times that I see these pieces in the thrift that are like very valuable and like, you know, I know people will love, but I just don't buy because it won't fit me or because it's not really my style. It was getting overwhelming. Like I was there all the time and I'd be like, damn, like this is fire. And like somebody would buy this. But like I can't justify just buying it to buy it because I had no way to, you know, generate the income. We didn't have the platform yet.
Yeah, before we started doing this, I would leave like designer in the thrift store all the time because I didn't want it really, and like it didn't fit me. It was like the big thing, so you just leave it. So
no use for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what am I gonna do with that?
Yeah, we know people like this stuff though, so
and you know it's worth something too.
The idea of it is we can give people access to these clothes that they wouldn't normally find themselves. Like they won't take the time to go do it, but they want it, and we can be that in between where we like looking for it, and when we find it, people know us.
Plug. So what's the second question? Sorry, Dave.
I think I mean that's a good build up. I mean, you know, I don't remember what I asked, frankly.
You were asking A, how did I get involved in it, and B,
I don't remember. I've written down new questions as you're speaking. Let me ask you this then. One of the things that I'm hearing a lot is this idea of you guys having an idea of value branding. You know, so for example, Nick, you're talking about leaving designer labels or whatnot. Like, where's this value in clothing come from? What makes things hip? And why are you guys the guys that know what that is? If I've ever been in a Salvation Army, for example, I just see used. But I have no personal relationship or value with fashion, etc. So what is the approach? Are you guys people that have you studied it? Is something that you guys have always been into? Is it something that's come from social culture? Because, you know, somebody like you were talking about, there's a YouTube channel, for example, where somebody is essentially educating or saying what's hip in like larger metropolises. I mean, what's your sort of historical idea of that? And who are you to say
what's cool?
What's cool?
I just like valued like Jimmy touched on, like the footprint thing, not you like going to the mall getting brand new stuff, feeling like I was just like perpetuating like textile waste and like a lot of other things about the mall, but I'll stick to like the sustainability. Going to the thrift store and like looking at the clothes, it was like, okay, if I look for a while, I'll find something that I will actually probably want. I don't know, just like I took in like I watched a lot of movies in the past, and I like look at a lot of art. I just like really appreciate like even like this painting here, like just like the details and like the small like elements of things. And like that goes into clothes. Like I realized that in movies, there's a lot of like detailed things that directors do to like make you feel a certain way and stuff like that. I just realized like that translated into clothes at a certain point. Clothes have a lot of details that like another form of art that I like kind of like woke up that like, oh, even the thrift clothes, like some of that stuff is art. So like looking through the donated used clothes, you would find something that's like, oh, this is actually a piece of art. Someone else knows this is a piece of art too. So that's what kind of fueled it.
To jump in quickly on that, I mean, have you been, I was at the Dior exhibit at Glenbow and the Nick Cave that's on right now. If you had to, can you define, is it what you wear, how you wear it, why you wear it? I mean, you brought up sort of global waste ethics, etc. I'm like anti-sweatshop, so even though I don't care about necessarily, like I have a uniform, I have the same shirts, underwear, and 2 pairs of pants I wear every day. But I do make sure that like this is from a company in Toronto called Jericho, and they like loom their own cotton and all that kind of shit.
Like being conscious.
Yeah, so I do have that much consciousness, but yeah, where does like actual hipness, you know, fashion, like especially what your age demographic and like the youth, I mean, where do you think that's being drawn from? It's probably a little bit of all, but like for you guys, is there something that's more prevailing than anything else?
Like it's how you wear it, why you wear it, and what you're wearing, but a lot of it will come from what's going on culturally. So films, movie, art, like all that put together, like what is culture right now? For us, it's like what's culture now, what's culture 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like who are we to say what's cool? Like we're no one, but we know what we think is cool, and we just have to trust that other people think the same. And that's just kind of how we've approached Secret Shop, is we always just plan what we think is cool, and then we put it out there and just trust that other people think the same. And so far they have, and they've expressed it. We're pretty grateful for that, because like it was honestly just like a faith-based thing, right?
When someone says to me, they're like, oh, my whole outfit's thrifted, it's kind of like a value statement that they value like sustainable clothing, you know what I mean? And just not like buying new stuff. So like, or like I got my whole fit at Secret Shop. That's like implying that it's like all sustainably sourced clothes. So that's what makes people like connect too, when they're like have similar values.
I know that I've been following fashion for probably like 5 years, like very closely. And like Tam said, like everything from, like, I would say like movies and music are probably some of the most influential in terms of fashion culture of the time and era. The musicians, whatever they're wearing, you know what I mean? Every kid is like, damn, like, you know, did you just see what Drake was rocking last night? And like this has a huge impact on us because these are the culture drivers of our era, if you will. And I know that I've been following fashion for a really long time. And I always just pride myself on kind of seeing these styles and styling with them and wearing them in advance to it being like the cultural norm, right? Because like it first starts as a trend and then it slowly trickles down into like a cultural norm where like lots of like kids in like, you know, elementary school and middle school will just be wearing, for example, the Yeezys and like the Yeez, the Kanye West style. You know, he created that in like early like 2013, 2012 is like when he was all about like the oversized, comfy sneaker wear. And now like in like today's day and age of like 2019, you see like his sneakers all over the streets.
Yeah.
You see all the kids rocking like the oversized tees with like the joggers. And that's like a what would be considered like a normal style, you know? Like if you had that, you're like the guy.
That's pop style.
That's pop style, you know? That's like the cultural norm. It's like, yo, you're rocking that, right? So we're just trying to do what he had done in seeing the style before it becomes the norm, right? Like we're the maven of sorts that like sees what's new, filters through it, and then passes it along to the next demographic of people, right? Where it's like, boom, we see, oh, that's really, we really like that. All right, well, we're going to pass it along to our people and show them. Because there's a lot of people, even though we're still small and pretty adolescent, a lot of people are at the stage where they're looking to us for that advice, for like what's cool, what's trendy, what's popping, you know, what is socially acceptable to
like
wear.
It's gotten to a point where people will visit our booth and be like, oh, like this is cool because you have it. Rather than like, oh, I'm looking for this because this is cool. It's like they see it on our rack and they're like, oh, okay, so like this is what's coming.
Oh, so this
next.
is what people are rocking these days.
Yeah, so I guess we kind of pride ourselves as pretty much like trendsetters. So we'll see what we like, and then Jimmy said we slowly introduce it to the people surrounding us. And
it's a matter of like, to your point, Dave, about like what we see in bigger metros. We see things in bigger metros, and we're like, man, that's really cool. Why don't we try it here? And sometimes it sticks and it works. A lot of times it doesn't. You know, it just matters. It just is dependent on the demographic that is around us and like the type of people. Like, are they into that? Okay, no, it's too much for them, and like people aren't digging that here, and they won't buy it.
Like what works in Tokyo is probably not going to work.
It's not
here,
working
right?
here, you know. But to an extent, some of those might be passed on and passed down, and over time, I'm sure will progress to be what is in Tokyo right now.
Yeah, we also want to be
the Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Part of like the process of introducing those outside styles into Calgary. So like what's cool in Tokyo isn't necessarily what's cool here, but we want to be sort of bridging that gap between the two because we think that's really cool what's going on overseas. So like let's bring it over here and see if we can catch up faster because we're a little bit behind right now.
Are you guys all Calgarian, like born and raised, or where y'all from?
Alberta.
We're all from the Alberta for sure.
I guess, yeah.
You're all Albertan anyways.
Yeah, I was born in Calgary.
I was born in Lethbridge, Alberta.
Yeah, I was born here.
You're born in Calgary. You know, one of the things I wanted to do sort of with this podcast is also to ask this question about the context of what all these artists, creators, just interesting people are doing within the context of Calgary. So we bring up this point, you know, what's going to be on the edge in Tokyo is going to be very extreme. I mean, never mind. I mean, there's so many different factors for that. As somebody from Toronto originally, the idea of what somebody from Toronto might consider hip that's like a multi-dimensional thing. And it depends what neighborhood you grew up in, the type of people you kind of music, you know, it's kind of weird that way. So what's your perspective doing this right now about sort of like the Calgary scene? Where you guys were before you were doing Secret Shop, as you're entering into fashion over, let's say, the last 5-10 years, and then where you're at now? Like, what's going on the ground in Calgary right now in terms of fashion, especially for the youth? What's defining? What are we ready for, and what are we doing?
I would say that we're ready for a lot, and there's the underlying arts community culture here in Calgary that is really making a big splash, big noise. Things like this, you know what I mean? The studio here, doing the podcast, talking about the arts community. I haven't been involved in this scene for more than maybe, like, I'd say I've been involved in the community scene for 2 years or so. But this is, like, all brand new to me, and I think that there's a lot of people, and I'll touch on myself, like a lot of creative people with really good messages and things that would stick internationally, like things that could, like, go beyond our city and be defining for our city here. It's just a matter of everyone getting behind each other and creating a space for it here in Calgary. The youth culture here is very, very, very art driven, art inspired. A lot of kids that I talk to these days take it with a grain of salt, because, like, the kids that I'm talking to these days are, like, kids involved with Secret Shop and kids involved with, like, new and in the community itself. But a lot of them are like, man, I love it. Yeah, it's great. Like, I want to try something new. You know what I mean? I heard that we were doing some product photos with this girl last night, and she straight said to my face, she's like, yeah, I kind of played it safe, and I just, like, went and did, like, child and youth care, because I want to be a model, and I want to be, like, a public figure, and I want to, like, get into makeup and hair and this type of thing and beauty shots. But there's just not a lot of avenues. And then in turn, the sustainability of it is very small, right? Like, not a lot of people can say that they make their living off of doing podcasts, off of making music even here, right? In Calgary. So it's kind of like you got to love it enough to dive in head first.
It's I feel like we kind of got to be our own biggest fans in Calgary.
True.
It's because we just don't have enough recognition from many places outside of Calgary. I'd be like, yeah, the art in Calgary is popping and it's recognizable outside of the city itself. But,
and it is, for the record.
And, like, the thing is, we saw that it's definitely here. The talent is here. The work is here. People are putting up projects and they deserve to be recognized on an international level. But the platforms aren't there yet. And if we can help in just putting the names out and creating new avenues for people to make work and, like, getting people together and collaborating so that these projects are bigger and better and more recognizable outside of the city, then that's the ultimate goal, really. Because people just make stuff, they're really good, and then they leave because the city just hasn't caught up yet. And if people keep leaving, then it just won't blow up.
No one's ripping Calgary as the home base.
Yeah.
Like, they don't blow up and they're like, yeah, I'm from Calgary. I don't ever hear that. And there's a lot of great artists that have come from Calgary.
So
like,
many, yeah.
Ones that we all probably know of. And that are doing major things on major scales, in Toronto, Vancouver, even in the States and stuff like this. But they're never coming back and being like, I'm going to create this in Calgary. I'm going to have a home base here in Calgary that promotes X and X and X, fashion culture for X, And
it's not like they haven't tried. It's just like the city just wasn't ready yet. But people who are doing stuff right now, we can all kind of talk to each other and be like, there's momentum here, and there's, like, the foundation's being built. So
yeah, I find a lot of, like, musicians in Calgary, just to call them all out, they will get to a certain point where, like, all their friends know they're a musician and they're good and they're very talented and they're doing bar shows, they're doing their own shows, they're in a band, and then maybe they do solo stuff on the side too, and then they just get this, like, defeatist mindset where they think, I've already made it, and, like, this is the top of where I'm going to be, and, like, there's no point in, like, I can make another album, I can make another EP, but, like, I could write a book, but, like, I've reached the ceiling in my city, and, like, that's not true. Like, there is no ceiling. Like, it's just, like, you can keep growing and keep making it as big as you want it to be, as long as you have that vision. But, like, I notice so many people just, like, they're like, oh, I made it. I'm on the posters around town. Like, that's as big
people
as it
know
gets.
my name.
Yeah, people know my name. Like, that's I can get into the bar for free. Like, I'm a celebrity. Like, being a local celebrity is a real thing in Calgary for sure.
It's interesting. I mean, I have so many questions, but number one, I'm thinking at the beginning, you guys talk about starting Secret Shop as an act of faith. This idea that, you have a business discussion at first. What do we do with all this stuff that's getting thrown out that is worth so much money? But at the end of the day, like, how do you make that first thing? How do you book your first gig? How do you coin the term secret shop? Then you build on that. And you build on that. But then in the last portion, we talked about this idea of a platform in Calgary missing. I see this too a lot. I mean, my entire line of life's work right now is meeting creators like you guys. And what I hear a lot about Calgary is exactly this, but it stays ambiguous. So maybe I'll flip this on you. Like, what is it? What is the platform that you think we're missing? I mean, let's say specifically with the vintage fashion, street style, like what you guys are doing, at least in this context.
Secret shop's missing.
What does Calgary need? Right? Like, do we need the new corporate word my wife hates, cross-pollination? Like, do we need people to? Do we need to go out into the burbs? Do we need to go into a country western bar? Do we need to, like, what is it? Do you think that is going to flip that switch where this isn't? I'm praying that Secret Shop doesn't peter out like a lot of stuff in another year. You guys are doing good, but what makes it sustainable?
We need better venues.
Yeah, what does that mean? What's a better venue? Like, what?
Keep it fresh. Just like keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you want to see the next Tarantino movie? Because it's so different from the last one.
Let's not bring up Tarantino. That's going to get some personal biases here. Yeah, that's right. I said it, Kyle. Kyle and I have been joking about. Actually, we've had a couple of ideas for movie podcasts. We'll come back. We'll record podcast 2 on that.
Yeah.
We'll turn it into a movie thing. But
I think that Calgary has everything that it needs in terms of platform. So we have things like Secret Shop that we've done, and we have things like 10 at 10, and we have things like Raw Voices. Tam's friend does that.
Shout out
Bethel
to Bethel and the girls
and the girls and all the people at Raw Voices. Things like this. What it really is going to take, and what it is taking, is it's just time. Like we have a really large city geographically, and it's just massive, and trying to get to one place to another is very difficult.
Yeah.
And so, like, what's gonna bring that person, like you said, from the burbs to downtown to see the event? The only thing that's gonna get them out of their house is their friends going.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a matter of time before it trickles into these communities. Because since I've started to partake in the community itself, it's grown. It's got a ton of steam, a ton of momentum. Right. And we do have a big enough metro to support all of these things. We just have to continue to build and work and create the awareness and create that, like I'm going to go see a local artist and it's dope. It's not like, the artists in Calgary are trash, I don't want to go see them. It's like, nah, like, this artist is awesome, And so I think that the platforms are there. I think that the city is ready.
Yeah.
All it takes is really, you just got to grab somebody by the hand and be like, hey, come with me.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's go. Hey, let's go check out this new thing. Because I know that everyone that partakes in our event, the Secret Shop, after they go, they're always trying to go again. And they're always trying to tell their friends and invite. And like, the word of mouth has been the strongest and is the strongest form of the marketing, where it's like, hey, tell your friend. Tell your friend about this restaurant. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like, to touch on what you were saying, like the platform that's missing, it's like it kind of is ours in a way. Not to like brush on my own ego or whatever, because like we try to make it so that like our event is like accessible by like any age demographic. Like, so many different people in different walks of life, different ages come to our event, because like there's bands that they can see, there's music that the DJ music's banging, and like the older people don't, they're not exactly pumped on that because it's loud music. But we do try to make it so that like the age gap is as wide as possible. So like these people in the burbs, they're like, might not be the best thing, but I'll check it out. It seems interesting, kind of thing. Just kind of like casting a bigger net.
True.
It does get those people in.
To build off his point, it does cast a bigger net than just like 10 at 10 Calgary, where like, they're throwing the open mic and it's just solely around artists. And it's like, if you know the artist or your friends, or you want to go check out some local artists, you'll go. But like ours is like, we got, there's bands, there's music. The clothing is such like a wide spread thing, right? Where it's like everyone wears clothes. Everyone likes cool t-shirts, Not everyone, but a very large portion of people are like, yeah, man, I like cool tees.
Yeah.
I'll come simply to just see a cool t-shirt. Right?
What are we missing? We're missing a lot of really just like local love, because if you're living in the suburbs, you can just download music and listen to it, and then you'll go see a show when somebody else comes into the city. But there's music happening every night that you can go see. But like you'll show up to this local artist's show and there's like 12 people in the audience, but the guy is amazing. Like, whoever the artist is, there's a lot of them that are just amazing. They deserve a much bigger audience.
They deserve thousands.
If people just start going out more and they just like, you got to accept that Calgary, a lot of people say it's boring, but if you really looked, it's not. There's too much stuff to do. Like we can't even visit all the people that we want to see, because then we just be playing and not working at all.
Right. Trying to go to all the shows that you want to go to. There's like 3 a week.
Yeah, like all the art, all the music, all that stuff. So if people just, I mean, it's hard because it's like really snowy and really shitty for half the year. But if you just left your house and went and looked, you'd find a lot of stuff here. And it's just like we're missing a lot of local love. If we don't love our own city, it's just not going to grow at the pace that we want it to.
That's actually a good point. I like that. I think, to build off of Tam's point, one thing that maybe our city is lacking is a center of patriotism. Is that what the proper word? Where like you just care about, the city that you're from. Because what I see is the culture here is that like people are like, yeah, I love Calgary, and then it's followed by like, yeah, I love oil, I love Canadian oil and gas. But I don't see anyone being like, I love Calgarian artists, painters. Like I never hear that, and like that's not like a reoccurring theme or like an idea that's bouncing around all of these social circles. Is that like, yeah, Calgary's got great art, it's dope. It's like, nah, it's like, yo, I love my job, I love the oil patch, I love Alberta beef, period.
I love Alberta beef, though. So I guess like part of our mission is just to get all that stuff out there, just to create the awareness that everyone needs, so that people will just like leave their house and actually go see something, because there's a lot going on, but like the marketing is not necessarily the best. If we like invite our friends who live in the suburbs to something cool, and we like tell them about it, they'll probably come out.
They will, as
long as we describe it properly, and that's enough incentive. They're like, oh, I want to go see some cool art tonight. But that part isn't done well enough, I don't think, and that's why we think our platform helps in doing it, because we help market all these things and just get everything in front of people's eyes.
Well, there's a bit of a conflict, between this characterization of the Calgarian pro-corporate oil or nothing. True. I work my 8-hour week. I watch my Netflix.
Yeah.
Fuck Stranger
off.
Things. Have you seen
versus,
that?
Fuck off.
Versus what you just described. Like I got, my boys are out in the, they're working 9 to 5s, but if I tell them there's something cool happening, they'll come in. I mean, there's a bit of a discord there because, does Calgary actually have people that outside of like the inner circle of artists' friends that actually care about local art? I mean, it's a question I ask myself every day with working on perspective.
Yeah, it's hard to say, honestly.
I have no idea. But I mean, what's your guys' sense right now in your marketing efforts, in the work that you're doing, with the shop, with the stores, with all your connections, with all your peers? When Jimmy and I met at the library, the numbers he was telling me about Secret Shop are actually much more impressive than I thought. Like I thought you guys were at, basement of a shop, 60 people come out, and it's cool, but you're in the hundreds, maybe the next one you hit the thousands. I mean, who knows? Like we don't want to set expectations and entitlements either, right? But you are reaching a fairly wide group.
Yeah.
Now I can't make those shows. I haven't yet, but so I don't know how wide and weird the demographic is, but I mean, what are you guys feeling? Like, what's Calgary like in your feedback circle? I mean, Nick, like, what are you feeling like if you had to paint Calgary with a wide brush right now? Is this a city that's capable of loving art? Is it just missing a marketing tool where all we need to do is get out to the small plaza that's in the new subdivision and whatever new building, and just say, look, this Saturday, I know you got your Earls and you got your chain, everything. But in this Saturday, if you show up at this weird place under this shop, and there's going to be a lot of weird people, you're going to see some local creativity. Do you think people care?
That's why I was saying like we're just missing.
I do.
Cool venues.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, I'm just being a dick, but like I'm just wondering, like, what's your guys' opinions about Calgary
You're asking,
as a culture?
Do people care?
I feel like
is there an opportunity here?
We're like, there's people that are just laying on the hill, and there's just snow that's falling, and then we're just like pushing this snowball down the hill, picking them up as we go down the hill, and it just gets bigger and bigger. To use an analogy, but
They need
like,
they need that
analogy.
push though.
no, they
That's the
need
thing.
that. They need that.
They need to
forward
find the ball.
momentum. They're like, it's happening,
Mhm.
and there's that FOMO, that fear of missing out. That
Mhm.
they're
The
like,
healthy
well, if I
FOMO.
don't go now, like, when is the next event? You know, and that's the thing that our event does a lot. I've realized is like when people miss it and they see a photo or two or whatever, they're like, when's the next event? I'll book that one in my calendar because like it's just they see that it's something that they kind of haven't really been to, or if they are into fashion, they're like, oh, I want to get those clothes. Like, when is the next event? There's some sort of draw.
They
Of
see
course.
their friends there.
They see
It's
their
a
friends.
it's a big one.
Yeah.
But even speaking on like people that I know, like that came here from Russia or from Germany, they want to know what's going on. They want to know what do people do other than get their groceries and play video games at home. Like, and then I show them that, they're like, oh, when's the next one? When I want to be there.
Mm.
You know, they don't always come, but you know,
I
that's how it goes.
think people care.
They missed out.
It's just got to be packaged properly and displayed to them in a way where it's like, hey, this is valuable for you and your experience living in the city. This is good for you. And if you go, then it'll enrich your living experience in the city. And that goes with our event and a bunch of other events too. And like I do a lot of promoting on my own Instagram just through stories. A lot of our friends do a lot of different things and like we just help share it. My personal audience, like they repeatedly thank me being like, hey, thank you for posting this. I went last night. Or they'll see me at an event and be like, I went because you posted this.
Word.
So as long as it's like easily accessible, put right in front of their faces, people care and they will go. But it needs to be done for them, which is the tricky part. Like you have to put in the effort to put everything in front of people's faces.
They got to be turned on to it in one way or another, for
Mhm.
sure.
So tell me about that a little bit. You know, with Secret Shop. I mean, I don't know if it's asking you to reveal his secrets, but you know, what's your angle to talking to these people? I mean, what is it that you think is connecting with them, and how do we take advantage of them? I mean, maybe this could be a good segue in talking about presumably the next event that will presumably have this out presumably before. You know, August 30th. There's something happening. So however much detail you want to get into it, I'll leave it up to you. But yeah, I mean, how are we going to pique people's interest?
We could dive into that. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. So
For the
actually,
30th.
so the August 30th event is a like new vintage velour clothing exchange and Pulse hip hop dance studio.
We can touch on like what Like New is.
Sure. So Like New is the selling brand, the vintage selling brand that we have created, and Secret Shop is the platform in which sustainability and all of these brands and clothes are brought to make happen.
So like we were each individually selling clothes at Secret Shop at the first one. So it was like me, Nick, Jimmy, and then Curated by Cool was the other one. So there's 4 individual vendors. And then after I think 2 more pop-ups that we did under Secret Shop, we realized that if we kept selling individually, like we each had our own booths and we had the event running, it was just way too chaotic to organize and like maintain some sort of just maintain the event throughout the night. So we decided to just put all of our clothes together, create one brand together so we could just be at one booth and then delegate other roles while the event's happening. That became Like New. And that's us together. And then Secret Shop is the separate platform where we actually do the vending and have all the art.
And the art and the culture.
Yeah, so the August 30th event is going to be a Like New event
/ launch party.
/ launch party because we haven't really done an event as Like New yet. And we're going to be working with Velour Clothing Exchange down on 17th Ave and Pulse Dance Studios, which I think is the first urban dance studio in Calgary. So it's a big fucking deal.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be doing a fashion show. So we've taken the dancers from Pulse who will be competing in a dance battle.
Mm-hmm.
And they've brought in like these big DJs that have been in like the Step Up movies and like
The dancers.
really big in the hip hop dance community.
Yeah.
Like very, very big, like some of the best and most prestigious, if you will. They're coming to judge the kids, and what to your wife's term on the cross-pollination, our angle was definitely like hip hop dance culture studio X vintage brand.
In fashion.
They don't intersect that often, but they are very similar, right? We bring the two, we get to style up all of the dancers in our outfits and in our uniforms and in the looks and the styles that we please. And then they have an opportunity to walk on a fashion show, which is something
They're doing a
completely
runway,
new.
right?
Yeah, it's a runway, something completely new for them. New experience. Obviously, they'll be seeing all the new clothes that they're wearing. So they'll go through the fashion show and they'll be judged on how well they walked in the show. And then from that 32, 16 will be eliminated. Then we're brought down to the 16, and then we go back into the core of the hip hop dance, which becomes a dance battle style where they're based on their dancing. And so that's the event that's happening on the 30th. If anyone's listening to this prior, go get your tickets on Eventbrite. You can check us out on the Like New Vintage. You could check out Pulse Studios and Velour Clothing Exchange.
Search for Something From Nothing.
Something From Nothing
That's
is the name of the event.
That's the name of the event.
FYI.
Hashtag that.
Hashtag. Yo, whatever.
Bring your oversized jacket and your boombox and your tearaway track pants.
And your big ass clock around your neck.
Yeah.
You got to fit in.
Flavor.
Yeah.
Now you're going to my generation. When is it? Where is it?
It's happening at C Space, the King Edward building in Marda Loop.
Yeah, it's in Marda Loop.
1729 29th Avenue Southwest.
August 30th. That's also the same place we did our first Secret Shop pop-up.
True.
The same building.
Same building.
You guys do the first one at C Space, eh?
At Studio C,
At
which
Studio
is in
C.
C Space.
Oh,
Within
that's
C
fun,
Space.
man. Yeah, C Space is a cool building.
Yeah, they do a lot.
That's a lot of stuff.
the
Like, how long is
community.
the event going to be?
3 hours?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what time does it start?
7 till 10 p.m. on August 30th. That's a Friday.
Quick fashion show, runway show, which is going to be really cool. And then there's going to be a dance battle right after.
That's
And
pretty
we'll
cool.
also be doing the pop-up sale stuff. We'll have a racks there and this and that.
I don't
Yeah.
think Jimmy mentioned it, but Jimmy and Velour styling the fashion show
Yeah, we're styling the
Collaborative.
dancers.
event
And
Yeah.
through and through.
how big do you think you want it? What are you expecting?
Like, it's going to be a
Little.
smaller event. So, like, it will, I guess. I don't
It's
know
ticketed
like
this
100
time,
tickets?
so a little
Yeah.
bit over 100, I think.
Yeah.
I think
Just over
we're
100?
aiming for about 120 people.
Okay.
But like a lot of them will be like people of the dance hip hop community, parents, friends, obviously the dancers,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have an opportunity to see our brand, see the cool clothes that we offer,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll speak to them about the sustainability about it, the individuality, all of the great things that our brands offer.
It's a VIP event.
Zip zip.
I'm gonna talk to you guys about getting me in. Yeah, the
Anything for
thing,
you.
all I'm thinking about is if it's 100 people and you've got the sort of Calgary b-boy community, DJ community,
Mm-hmm.
retro, vintage. That's gonna be
It's pretty exclusive.
It's gonna be exclusive, but it's
Yeah.
gonna look cool.
Mm-hmm.
And how you get that word out, like you guys are talking about, to just show everybody after the fact that they missed it. It's fascinating. That's
sure.
pretty cool. Okay, I got the signal that we've got 5 minutes
Mhm.
left ish.
Wrap it up
And-
then.
Yeah. As is a running thing, whenever I'm in the studio, we'll try to take longer than 5 just to stress Kyle out and
Yeah.
make
Okay.
it irritating.
Let's
for
stress Kyle out.
him. Any last plugs? Like, what are you guys feeling? How do I want to wrap this up? Where you guys? Anything individual you guys want to talk about? Anything side projects? Anything thematic? Culturally? I don't know.
Working on another top secret project.
So there's something in the works.
Yeah.
That's for the secret shop, of course. That's top secret, but it is coming soon. Y'all just wait. It's going to be a fall edition, probably sometime in September, October. Stay tuned.
What were you thinking of?
That's at Secret Shop YYC on Instagram.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do people find you? How do people stay connected with you? Is it all on Instagram right now?
We're solely an Instagram
Secret Shop
Event.
YYC for Secret Shop.
event platform.
And then Like New
Want me to just
Vintage.
plug it? You can find us likenewvintage.com
Yep.
for all your shopping needs. If you want to keep up with our journey, go to Like New Vintage on Instagram. If you want to keep up with me personally, I'm Organic VHS. This is Jimmy the Sweet.
Jimmy the
at
Sweet,
Jimmy the
baby.
Sweet. Make sure you follow him too. And that's at Tam Squatch and at Secret Shop for the event that we were all talking about earlier. And yeah, top secret projects on the way.
I do want to say, if you're in Calgary and you're working on something creative, you're working on a project, finish it and then put it out and then start the next one
Facts.
and then keep doing it.
And
Yeah.
repeat.
Yeah, this is kind of like why we're vibing, because I feel like that's my only soul core message is meeting people and telling them to stop giving up. I think one of the things that is important, it sounds like you guys understand this, is when you start and do a project, it can't be because you think it's going to be perfect. It just
Yeah.
has to get done.
It just has to get done. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And that's
And
where
then
culture is going to come
Try to
from.
get it in
So-
front of people's eyes. It's
Mhm.
not art unless people see it. You can't keep it in your basement.
Exactly. No one can appreciate it from your basement.
Yeah.
You know?
But don't be an indie rock defeatist.
Nick's got like freaking like 300 VHS tapes.
Oh damn. Maybe I
These
should.
are
Yeah. Do you know about CSIF, like the Calgary Society of Independent Filmmakers?
Yeah, I was
okay.
actually invited to go to their like orientation thing over the weekend on Saturday.
Yeah, Katie's awesome. But this is the thing about Helen's gonna be so upset. Cross pollination.
Love that word.
What you guys are doing, I respect too. I love this idea. It's not just fashion. That at least with the secret shop thing or this event, that it's got to mix as many different things as possible. That feels like something. Yeah. So don't stop doing that either.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
All right, I'll leave us with some last words. Big shout out to everyone for listening. Let's thank Kyle for doing all the recording.
Thank
Let's
you,
thank Dave
Kyle.
or David for coming out and giving us this platform, this
thank you, guys.
opportunity to talk to everyone. We appreciate all of you. We love all of you. And if
Everybody
you don't
love
follow
everybody.
me on Instagram, it's going to be beef.
Hit that follow back.
From the top. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Yo. I am who I am. I am just a man on a mission. I rock the rhythm. I got to get you moving.
Straight hitter.
Yeah, Tarantino. Are we gonna do this? Well, this may not even go on the thing, but
Go quick.
Tarantino's talented, but he's an egoist. And his last 4 films are him just jerking off. Like they're awful. Like Hateful Eight. I think the first half of it, I actually was going to give him credit for an amazing Western movie, and it turned into a shitty 70s slasher flick at the end. It's awful. And I haven't watched Hollywood, whatever it's called. But
We just watched it last week.
yeah, Inglourious Basterds, same thing. You start off, and I'm like, oh, this is actually starting to gain some momentum.
Oh,
It
I
just
love that
turns
movie.
into a 70s slasher.
It's his own style.
That's
you
a
know?
signature.
Yeah,
That's
if you
his
want to give him
signature.
credit for that, I think he's a dick.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
But
David.
yeah, so you should be mic'd
Hate
up.
it or
And then-
love it. Hate it or love it. You
And
know
then
what he's doing.
I hated Endgame.
Yeah.
So
Me
so
too.
I got some strong.
I hate
opinions.
Endgame.
Oh,
Okay, let's stay
Sat through
focused.
that
Woo!
one.
No,
Talk
okay.
about these movies all
I
day.
almost never went to the theater again.
Yeah. We'll come back. We'll
Okay.
record
Tarantino
podcast 2 on that.
Yeah.
We'll turn it to a movie.
Now this my kind of jam. Word to kin, this my thing. Easy vibing, 1 2 stepping, representing. Get with it, hey, who trying to kick it? What? Big up Adrian, big up sister. I'm just trying to live a little. I'm just trying.
A quick note from our main sponsor, ATB. In light of our approaching Calgary Pride Month, I wanted to highlight that ATB takes pride in all Albertans. That means standing up for what's right in the workplace, in our communities, and alongside community partners, including Firefly in School, Calgary Libraries Reading with Royalty Program, Edmonton and Calgary Pride, and the Calgary Sexual Health Center. At ATB, we believe pride is a stance for love, diversity, and self-worth. A stance for acceptance in our workplace, in the communities we serve, and with our community partners. Learn more at atb.com/pride.
M-U-T to be whole. Take my heart, feel my soul. I am U-T, made of love. Say what? Take my heart, feel my soul. Yeah, I am U-T to be whole. It goes like this. Take my heart, feel my soul. I am beauty, made of love. Sound the trumpet. Mama cooking right now up in the kitchen. You don't know how it goes. Pot of bubble. Soul food. Ease up. Hey, clap. Just clap one time. Just clap. Soul food Sunday. You know, it's an occasion every Sunday. I am who I am. I am just a man on a mission. I rock the rhythm. I got to get you moving. Take you back to when hip hop gave you that feeling. Let go of all your inhibition. Take my heart, yeah. Feel my soul, yeah. I am beauty made of love.
Bring in the pepper sauce.
Who? Your timing. Move on.
Here we go.